Hello there, ladies and gents, and whatever other life forms are in the room at the moment. In case you don't understand the explanation coming up, I'm going to make it crystal clear with pretty little images. So let's begin, shall we? The 10th command in Marx's list of things that must happen to reach a communist society was free education for all children in public schools, abolition of children's factory labor in its present form, combination of education with industrial production. Sounds like a jolly old plan, wouldn't you say? Look at the positive effect this would have on little Billy here. Poor Billy, who is only a child, mind you, has to work long hours in the factories, being forced to work in hard conditions and performing repetitive or difficult tasks all day, every day. This is simply no life for a child to live. Consider the same situation under Marx's views. Little Billy here would be able to attend school and have a free education. Billy could learn so many things and have a chance at achieving greatness in whatever it is that he chooses. That's awesome. Did I mention his free education would be free? That smile on Billy's face shows that he's happy. So I'd say it's safe to say that Billy agrees with Marx's idea of free education. Yeah!
The main goal of the Communist Manifesto was to focus on class struggle and motivate the common people to riot. Even more so, it was designed to envision a model government whose economics would destroy the upper class, freeing the lower class from tyranny. Marx believed that each class of people had an opposing class that was trying to destroy the lesser one. His theory was to eventually eliminate all classes of people and thereby abolishing all forms of government, money, and nation states. The way that Marx preferred to establish this doctrine is by force. War and domination of business, government, and working class would eliminate any need for competition among industry. Fundamentally, the Communist Manifesto was a rebellion against the extreme poverty of the lower class. According to the Communist Manifesto, communism has 10 essential principles. Our group is presenting number 10. Free education for all children in public schools. Abolition of children's factory labor in its present form. Combination of education with industrial production.
With Marx's theory to eliminate classes amongst the people, his principle of free education promotes to eliminate the wall that separates the upper class from the lower class in terms of equal opportunities in being able to afford to be in school. Because I believe that lower class, or should we call it the proletarians, came into existence because they are the ones who did not achieve a certain level of education that would qualify them to get a decent job like the upper class have. Therefore, making the upper class more progressive and prosper more compared to them who are the lower class. Their lack of education separated them from being able to get the same wealth. This is Marx's goal to eliminate. His principle of free education promotes freedom, equality, and prosperity for everyone.
Other than free education for all children in public schools, the society also wants the abolition of the children's factory labor in its present form. In order to accomplish these goals, the proletarians have to unite as one and dominate the bourgeoisie.
Wait. Who's gonna dominate who?
It's pretty simple. Well, the proletarians are people under the commands of the bourgeoisie. They work to earn money for their survival. On the other hand, the bourgeoisie are people who own land, resources, factories, and other means of production.
So we can see the proletarians are being treated like shit.
According to Marx, the workers are alienated from the work they produce. In other words, they don't have ownership of the means of their production. Also, due to the development of the machines, the technology has taken away their skills and it's no longer useful, which means that they're like an attachment to the machines. The workers like soldiers and slaves.
Does the system stay the way it is forever?
Well, honestly, it's unfair because the bourgeoisie acquired things without working for it. Marx believes that the bourgeoisie's greed will create their own gravediggers, which means that by using the proletariat, the bourgeois are going to be eventually outpowered by the lower class. In the Communist Manifesto, Engels and Marx talks about the proletariat class struggling with the upper class bourgeoisie. This fight began with individual proletariat, or workers, and soon became a widespread conflict, with other groups of proletariats joining in. At this point, the proletariat were still sort of disorganized and had very little power. The main reason for this is the fact that many of them were still competing with each other and not joined or united as one. So basically, child labor will cease to exist when capitalism is destroyed by the united proletariat class.
Now that you have a basic summary of what Karl Marx's impression of child labor is, I'm going to give you real-life situation examples. Child labor is used and goes very unpunished in some companies such as Coca-Cola, which has about 5,000 to 30,000 Salvadorian children, some as young as 8, working in sugarcane plantations, where the environment is very unsafe. Another big company that uses child labor is McDonald's, who has 14-year-old kids working 7 a.m. to 12 at night at a wage of $1.50 an hour. These kids are making the toys that go into the food, and most of them can't even afford these cheap toys. Other big name brands that use children for labor are Gap, American Apparel, Adidas, Disney, Nestle, and many more companies. I think that child labor is obviously a cruel thing to do. Even though cheap labor can be appealing to many businessmen, it's still an immoral act. Marx's suggestion to stop using children as a cheap labor is not only very smart, but should be very obvious. Countries like China, India, Pakistan, and many African countries use this child as labor. In China, children are an abundant source of labor. Many Chinese people feel that school doesn't provide the skills that have the immediate or realistic advantages. Many of the poor families can't afford to put their children in school either. Even the children rarely complain, as they know that how important their earnings are to their family, despite the harsh and risky working conditions. The abolition of child labor would be a great benefit to the economy of many of these countries, because it would create new jobs for the older people who actually can work and are qualified to work, especially in China, where many people are above 18 cannot find an honest job, which pushes them into the streets and into sweatshops.